and welcome to episode 98 of Illuminating Rounds. How you doing?
Hello, Dave. I'm all right. Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
We have quite the episode today. We are going to talk about One Story Town. What's your views on this scenario?
Oh, it's a brilliant scenario. Really well designed scenario. Yeah. And this is from Chris Alden, isn't it?
Is that right? I didn't see it. Journal 13, isn't it? I think is the thing.
That's right.
And I hadn't heard anything about this scenario at all before Tom Repetti actually suggested us looking at it. And what a scenario! Really, really impressive. So excited. We've got three play-ins of it from other people, and we'll go through our game as well. We had a good time. What else have you been up to since?
Oh God! Yeah, you know what? I've had some sort of building work going on, and so I felt a little bit embarrassed sitting around the house doing what I normally do, like looking at a ASL map, having a nap, having a snack, whatever. So I went out and dug a tree stump out of the garden. I have never felt more alpha male in my life than heaving this great big tree stump out of the garden. Yeah, very impressed I was.
And you got
not sure they were impressed. I think they were unimpressed that I was so impressed. I was like, hey, come on, have a look at what I've just done.
What do you do with it at the end?
Well, I managed to get it into a wheelbarrow and move it to another place in the garden where it's going to get picked up by somebody who will burn it for firewood.
Oh, I thought you were about to say you were going to plant it somewhere else.
No, it's dead. It's not coming back.
Right.
No,
okay. Well, that's pretty impressive.
I was impressed.
And tomorrow we are playing Hill 621. So
that's right.
So we're going to have another episode shortly with Hill 621.
I might be stumped on that as well.
I think so. You got the good Russians on that one. You're going to be all right. The tournament is looking good. We think we have 16 players. I'm going to read out the list of players. If you have asked us at all, or if you want to play, if you're a patron, let us know. I think I've got everybody that has asked. I apologise if I've missed you again. Some people had to tell me multiple times, and again, I apologise. Paul Legg, Andy Bagley, Tom Repetti, Doug Leslie, Steve Slump, Tuomo, you and me, Steve Hall, Mike Grogan, Ryan Dukeman, Richard Webb, Tim Reed, Jim Bishop, Dave Marisk, Simon Staniforth. Those are the 16 players that we have, and our first round is going to be Chaz Smith. So we are going to talk about Chaz Smith's scenarios, and we will let you know. And Chaz himself has picked not only his favourite scenario that we won't be playing, but also his preference for, or his selection for us to play a tournament scenario. And we will let you know what that is. Chaz has done some incredible scenarios, and we're going to talk about that. We've played his favourite scenario, so we'll talk about that as well.
Oh, sorry.
Did you sneak out? You can say it.
Meershausen Zoo.
Very good.
I'm guessing, but I think you did tell me a couple of weeks ago. It
was an educated guess, I think.
Yeah.
But we're not
educated guess on the knowledge that he told you that was his favourite.
But we are not playing that in the tournament.
No.
But that is his favourite scenario. But anyway, we'll talk more about that next time. This time we're going to talk about One Story Town. So to start with, what we're going to do is we're going to go through, and Tom Repetti kindly put us a few videos together, and as did Rob MacGinley as well. So we've got a video from Rob, we've got a video from Tom. So let's look first of all at Rob's video, which talks about the vehicles that are in this battle, and then we'll move on to Tom's pre-match video about the scenario. Here we go, Rob.
Good morning, everybody. I'm now doing another tank chat for Illuminating Rounds. So this will be a quick one, so I'll cover things quite briefly. So I'll just share screen. So what I'd like to cover is Journal 200 One Story Town. So as you can see, it's from a recent journal role involving Finns versus Russians, and Dave and Martin will cover a lot more than that. So really, at this time in the 1930s, and this is basically following on from the Winter War, this is the continuation war, we had a lot of competition from many countries, particularly the Brits and others, on how to develop the tanks. And the light tanks versus the multi-turreted monsters were the big things involved. When we think about the multi-turret tanks, everyone seemed to have one. The French had one, the British had one, the Russians had one, and the Germans had one. Light tanks at the time, mainly designed around Vickers, were far and numerous. The French World War One tank still existed and existed all the way through World War Two, but was found to be quite inadequate for everything from armour to speed and the gun. So Vickers came up with a design, and really it was the most successful export business ever, what the British Vickers company did, sending it to many countries all over the world. And the T-26, which we'll talk about in a second, is just an example of Vickers. As you can see, the T-26 and the Polish tank will look very familiar. The T-26 and the British Vickers tank, the Chinese had a Vickers tank, the Polish, and the Italians as well, and even the Czechoslovakians had something all derived from this Vickers tank. So looking at the Russian version in the molds, starting up at the top, the eventual transformation into that type of light tank, and that's a T-50 up the top, came from the T-26. The later version is second from the top. The earlier version is the one in the middle. And then they had variants where they used the same chassis. In this case, I put this guy hanging out the top, the flamethrower version, and down the bottom there is the amphibious version. These are the multi-turreted tanks that I was able to get my hands on. The one in the middle is the one we're talking about today. It's the T-26, but the T-35, T-28, T-35 up the top. It's got large gun multi-turret tank, and the German multi-turret tank is down the bottom. Both the T-35 and this. So thinking about the game, basically it's that their tanks really needed infantry support, and this game, really a combined arms game, must use infantry to protect these tanks. The Finns are actually coming from both directions. The Russians are holding the centre, and though they have two armoured cars, which have the weakest armour, and they're set up to defend, you remember the Finns have the 20mm ATR, so just be very careful. And the reinforcements from the Russians are the tank battle, and the reinforcements from the Finns are the tank battles, and the tanks come in. So it's unlikely we'll see a tank versus tank, but maybe the flame tank will be picked on, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Going into detail on the T-26, as I said, it's one of the successful British export tanks John Card designed. The Russians actually put hundreds when they purchased the Vickers 6-ton. They did get factories which then went on to produce thousands. But the thing they did was they had put on the 45mm gun. So nobody else put on the Russian 45mm gun. Finland had actually ordered its own Vickers tanks, and they weren't even available either at the Winter War, and only a few were available in the Continuation War. So what you see here is captured Russian tanks, and they captured hundreds, so they were very, very available. The T-26 in 1935 was the point in time when they went from riveted to welded, and that's when they became much more effective, and we have a T-26-37 here. The armour is too thin. At the time, it was excellent armour, but quite quickly it was outmatched. And even versus its own 45mm gun, it's much thinner armour than we'd hope for. In Spain, they learned, and in Finland, they learned that they're overwhelmed quickly without infantry support. And when they used them in Barbarossa, because it still was one of the most common tanks in Barbarossa, the more numbers and the better guns was, a real advantage for the Russians, but it had lots and lots of problems. And this is the thing about the armour being too thin, the radio issue. The T-26 chassis was used for many things. So this is the 38 model, which is the only model I could find close to the one we've built. And this is putting the flamethrower on it. And the flamethrower is the one with the guy trying to hang out the top of the turret. And that model up there is the one which is the closest to the model we have. So in game terms, the T-26 that we're playing with, as you can see, the 45mm gun, radialus, thin armour. The crew didn't survive that often. The armoured car is there with the thinner armour. The flamethrower version that the Finns used, and the T26 down the bottom, which we'll cover in a second. So in game terms, a little bit of history, how they sold thousands of them. So Britain sold hundreds of them to Russia, and then Russia made thousands of them. And the other issue is the Russian AFEs. So note M is the key note to take note of with the concept of the poor transmission. Looking at the Red Army version, the only extra note there is to talk about excessive speed breakdown purposes. So next, the T28 was actually built in the early 30s. It was actually called the parade ground tank because it didn't see much combat, though it was available for the Winter War and captured and used by the Finns in the Continuation War. There was only 100 plus built over the 7 years. Every year they tried to improve the turret and the gun, added more armor to it. It had a lot of technical prowess, so for its time in the mid-30s, it was the best medium tank ever, much better than the Mark IV when it faced it. But its first real combat was at the Finns when they fought in Poland and the Baltics. There was no tank on tank. And when they first noticed this, they welded more plates on. But with all the aircraft involved, German aircraft bombing in Barbarossa, and the lack of fuel, the remaining T-28s were completely devastated, and there was no recorded tank-on-tank battle. So this is what it looks like, and the pictures suggest the parade ground tank, and this is what it is in the model. This is the one with the added armor, so you can see the plates of armor being welded on. And as I said, in the game terms, you can see that it's a large vehicle. It's got the, probably the thickest armor on the board, and it's got all these machine guns. So this is why this talks about its history. One of the special notes here is this one, which talks about how to use the different machine guns. So you have to have a bit of an understanding that you don't actually have, except to the front, all the machine guns available. When you look at the sides and everything, you can bring your turret around facing forward. Matchup, basically they're the same tank, so they all got the 45L armor. They're the 76 a little bit better. The flame tank, I reckon, is going to be the target. Anyway, this is the matchup. So you can see the 45L is a 10. Most of the armor is a 3. So you're looking at a 57% chance regularly of kill. The 76 gets it up to a 12. So that actually takes it up to much better. So if the medium tank does get a shot off, it's probably got the best ammo on board. So we don't have any time to do the armoured cars today, and I wouldn't do it justice, so I haven't bothered. But when we think about Russian armoured cars, this is the one that's easy to buy and build. This is the one that's also around, and this is another one that's easy to buy and build, all with the 45L gun. Problem is, this is the one I haven't been able to achieve getting yet, so I'm still got that on back order, and the one we used in the game, the BA6, but they all look about the same. And particularly at the time when the Germans had such exciting armoured cars as the ones I'm flicking through, not giving a proper talk to them is really disappointing. And just for Martin and Dave, just the British armoured cars were pretty cool at the time as well. We'll do that armoured cars at a later date. So this is a game of combined arms. Use your tanks with care, support them with infantry. The T-26 was basically the driving force of the type of tank in the 30s, so it's great to play it. The T-28 was the best medium tank of the time, so it's great to play that. The flame tank will be a target. Roll low, and thanks for listening.
So thanks very much, Rob, for the intro. And now here's Tom Repetti's intro to the scenario and his defense as well. So we're going to look at that, and then we'll have a quick comment about what we think, and we'll play his scenario. Here we go. Take it away, Tom.
Mm-hmm. All right, we are back with Tuomo Fest 2023. Woo! Basically, Mr. Lucari contacted me and said, "Hey, Tom, given the current geopolitical environment where nobody likes the Russians, I want to play a scenario with the Finns and the Russians where the Finns have more squads and better firepower and morale, and a flame tank, and the Russians have really hard victory conditions, and you're going to be the Russians, okay? Okay. So sign me up for that. In short, nobody wants the Russians to win here, but we do what we must to maintain our Q ratings and our contractual obligations to eliminating rounds. So here we go. This is J200 One Story Town, a scenario that was originally published a long time ago in Forward Observer by Chris Olden, and I was really excited to see it make it into the journal. I can't find the original of it. I think it was significantly changed. I think the original had some kind of SSRs that had Russians popping up all over the town, kind of like urban guerrillas, but I can't find it. So anyway, this is what we're dealing with here. Basically, this is the map. The Finns start set up in either two places. One is bounded by this northern area here, and the other is bounded by this road here, and the Russians can set up anywhere else on the board that they want. The Finns need to capture 4 VP worth of buildings, and the VP amounts for these buildings are here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 up there, and then there's a 2-point building down here. So the Russians need to hold on to 3 points of buildings, and that's hard. I'm sorry. The Finns have more squads to start with, at least, and they start with a flame tank, and the Russians get some reinforcements later, but I just think this is really hard. And in fact, it's all about SSR 3, which makes the Russians pre-designate which reinforcement groups come on within 2 hexes of certain road hexes on the north. The north is to the right here. The north, the east, or the south edges. They get 1 group on turn 3 and 1 group on turn 5. And before the game starts, I have to say who's coming in on what turn in what hex, which, you know, it makes you do a lot of thinking beforehand about how you want to set up the defense and how to play it. Basically, I'm just going to go with the boring situation here. I think holding on to this large building for 2 points and then this one for 1 point is the best option for the Russians in terms of the simple geometry of them being able to support each other better. I just don't see trying to hold on to any of these buildings here, because there's just no support that you can give yourself from one building to the next. And in fact, I'm going to bring on my reinforcements, both groups here, because that's the most easily defensible. I kind of don't really expect Tuomo to go for this 2-point building, because he doesn't have to. He can get 4 points just by getting these guys. But in case he does, it'd be nice to be able to put my units in here, and this is much easier to do to defend that area than to try to defend any of these. This is an interesting thought here, but you can enter within 2 hexes of the road, and this is just really open ground and not very defensible. So I'm kind of not happy with the thought of entering there. Entering back here or here is tempting, but I just don't, maybe for the second time around, having played it once, being a little conservative, but I don't want to lose too bad this time around, so we're just going to be boring. Let me show you the defense, though. If I bring all these guys on the board, and then I can maybe get things back to the way they were. Okay, so this is what the defense looks like. The Russians get a bunch of concealment counters, and I thought it was worthwhile to try to create some 5/8 inch dummies, because I want Tuomo to think twice about where he brings his flame tank on. So I've got a dummy here and one down here. I kind of don't expect him to push either from this area down to the 2-point building or from this area over. But just in case, you know, it'd be nice to throw some defense over there. But in general, the strength of the defense is kind of in the middle here, and I've tried to weaken this area enough while still sort of presenting the illusion of some kind of strong defense. So that's the interesting balance that's going on here. Quite honestly, though, I like the Finns in this one. I mean, my gosh, they have a lot of units and a lot of time. And, of course, the flame tank. So we'll see how it goes.
So that was pretty interesting, Martin, in terms of his thoughts on the setup. You had a not dissimilar approach, I think. It wasn't too dissimilar.
So I liked how Tom had kind of created the illusion of being stronger in that 2 building, meaning that he can be stronger where he actually kind of expects Tuomo to attack. My strategy was different, really, because I was genuinely quite strong around the 2 building and intended to defend it quite kind of aggressively. He mentioned it being attempting to come in on the the left-hand side. It's the south, isn't it, to perhaps try and retake a building, and that was certainly a part of my strategy. So one of my groups comes on in the hope of taking a weakly defended building at the back.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's flick over to Tom's game. So Tom's the Russian, Tuomo is the Finnish. And by the way, I think we both agree the Finnish do look really strong in this. I think you voluntarily took the Russians in this one, and I was pretty pleased about that. With ASL, with it gives with one hand and it takes away with the other, and in this instance, it gives with the strength of the Finns and the flamethrowing tanks, but it takes away with the vulnerability of the flamethrowing tank, the flexibility of the reinforcements that the Russians are able to do, to bring on. And also they get the last turn as well, the Russians, and that's not insignificant, because it will absolutely allow for a counter-attack. And I think whenever you see that the defender has the last turn, you've got to be aware that there are going to be counter-attack opportunities, and it's not over till it's over kind of thing.
And this really is the scenario with the ultimate counter-attack opportunities. There's quite strong Russian forces coming on, aren't there?
And it's worth mentioning you can choose which group comes on turn 3 and on turn 5, isn't it? So
correct. Yes.
I assumed that you would, or the Russian player would always bring on group B first, because it's just a stronger force. So you have extra troops throughout the scenario. And we'll see what these guys. Yeah, we'll see what these guys do.
Yeah.
Right.
It is also mentioning that as well as all of the benefits that the Finnish always have, Finnish units are also assault engineers, making them much more effective against tanks.
That's
They also have Molotov cocktail capability.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and an underscore morale factor. Yeah, so it's there's a real suite of benefits in addition to the normal overpowered benefits of being Finnish.
The one thing that Tom didn't mention, the Russian sniper of 5 is actually quite powerful. And so we'll take a look at how that affects our game, and we'll look out for it in this one as well. Roll away, Martin. Let's have a look and see how they get on.
Here we go. Right, and we're off.
Okay.
So this is just concealment growth, isn't it?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing is that the tanks, the Finnish tanks, are coming from the top, aren't they? Top right.
Yes, that's right.
That's the first kind of decision
first key thing. There's a little bit of prep fire. Looks like it's a block line of sight as well. Oh no, they were doing
concealment gains.
Checks for concealment growth. Yeah. So finish off. They're aggressively pushing forward.
Yep. Yeah, you really get that advantage. Anybody, and it's interesting because you think if you attack or play for the Finnish for the first scenarios, you really will get a weird sense of how ASL works. That, it's not so bad to break units and things. And then you look at the fact that ASL scenario 1, fighting withdrawal, has the Finnish troops. It's a bit of a wake up call if you start with those guys and then
it's so amazing to be able to just press forward and have reasonable chance of not breaking with 8 morale. But if you do, you route back a little way and they can rally themselves, and they're back in turn 2. They're back pressing hard forward again, isn't it? Really they're kind of Japanese without the disadvantages of Japanese, aren't they, in a way? Okay, so we got more pressing forward with those Finns, the residuals, some broken Finnish units.
3 on
in come the vehicles. We got a little bit of a tank battle, an armoured car v tank battle going on already. advancing fire from the Finns.
I don't love that position of the flamethrower there. In that it's kind of trapped a little bit behind the, if that Finnish tank doesn't knock out the it's the armored car. The flamethrower tank is going to struggle to get past that and doesn't have any targets.
But so it gets aggressive, isn't it? Bring the 76 like that straight. Okay. Quite a few broken Finnish units though. Yeah. No quarter's been declared.
Okay.
We are in the Allied turn, aren't we? So already the Russians are looking like there's not that many of them.
That's right. Yeah.
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 Defensive fires. We just had.
Back.
Yeah.
Yeah, running back to defend that building in the middle seems like a quite a risky strategy. There's a lot of open ground there.
Yeah, made it, didn't he? But
some sneaky line of sights.
definitely risky. So a lot of this is the advances, I think, for the Russians. Yeah, concealment growth. Right, it's the Axis turn again. So there's a lot of broken Russian units, but there is a line. They're intact. The Russians got an intact sort of defense.
Yeah, the armored car has gone up.
It's gone up, yeah. So the gamble, if you like, paid off.
Yeah.
Again, Russians breaking. Finns pushing forward, and actually they look like they're attacking the two victory.
The Finns have come around the back as well.
Yeah, they look like they're going for that 2 victory condition building.
Yeah,
that's perhaps too weakly defended, perhaps. Yeah. Okay, where are we now? So it's still Axis turn 2. This is advances. Look at those moving in strength towards that building. I'd be terrified if I was. Well, I was terrified as the Russians. So these are concealment growth rolls, I think. It's Allied turn. Okay, so he's got a couple of rallies, the Russians. No prep fire.
Yeah,
moving, bit of defensive fire.
He's quite conservative with the flame tank. Still, who's named Martin, obviously. Dave doing the heavy lifting up the back there.
Yeah,
Martin having some fun.
Do you think? I mean, I suppose the thing is to not lose it, isn't it? It's like the capital ship in a naval conflict, isn't it? You don't want to be losing the most important thing, even if that means you don't use it as much as you should.
Right.
Or could.
Yeah, the threat of using it is the.
Yeah. Russians breaking, my word.
Yeah.
And so when the reinforcements, the Russian first lot reinforcements will come in just a moment. We know where they're going to come on, of course. It's the Finns advancing. Oh no, sorry, they're still moving. Yeah, really pressing on that key building.
Yeah.
Be interesting to know if they ever take it. Because in some ways it's quite an easy building to defend. We've got Russian final fire.
It's worth saying that they're all single-story buildings as well.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that makes it a little bit easier to take these big buildings. Right, here's the advancing fire phase. We've got routes. And these must be advances. This is the Finnish advances. Okay, all right. So we're going to see the reinforcements coming on in a sec.
So Finns have pretty much got two buildings.
Two buildings and lining up to get another one.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's the end of the log file. Okay. Right. So this is where we should.
No. Keep going. This is not yet.
Okay.
Because we've got a mid-game video from Tom, but. So we got to get to Axis turn 4 before we're going to stop further Tom's.
Yeah. All right. So okay. Go. Cancel that. So I've got to do low continuation.
That's right.
it's got. Sorry, it's got a load. Should have stuck with the one I made, shouldn't I? The completed one. Legacy creates confusion. It's very sensitive. Right, so I've got to go to the tools menu for this.
Tools,
okay.
load continuation.
Yeah, proceed anyway. Okay, right, we're back up. Okay, so this is Allied turn 3.
Yeah.
There's no reinforcements coming on now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the tank's coming on. So this is going to make the defense of that building effect like a bit more secure, isn't it? Bringing those guys on there, and it was exactly my thinking actually with bringing my first set of reinforcements on down there. Yeah, there's tons of Russians.
The wrong way there. I don't know if that's a vassal issue.
Where's that?
Skippy looks like he's pointing towards the building.
Oh, and that's wrong, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, it must be, mustn't it? Okay, yeah. So yeah, it looks like they're having like some sort of bless you, some sort of regimental reunion in the 2 victory point building now, isn't it? So, but the the French can still win by taking the other buildings, rolling them up.
That's right.
There we go. So Axis turn 4, and pressing forward. Yeah, focusing on shooting it out over in the big building now.
But it's interesting that this left hand side building now is not very well defended, and the Finns have got to be aware they can't just leave this back building. As most scenarios, you would just push on, wouldn't you? You've taken the building, you push on.
Yes.
And you have a line that you're going to defend. But because the Russians could come on from behind here, you can't really risk too much.
Exactly. Yeah. So of course, Tuomo doesn't know where they're going to come on from, does he?
Yeah. He brought Group B on, so the stronger force first.
Yes, which was your logic.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's press ahead. This is the Russians repositioning.
I don't see the snipers out.
There's certainly sniper rolls.
Yeah. Oh, there's here.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's here. That's it.
Okay. Oh, are we halfway? Are we at the midpoint?
Yeah, this is. Keep going. I think a little bit more.
That's it. Oh, it's at the end of Allied turn 4.
Yeah, I think it's the.
Okay.
I think we're...
Okay, so Russians now retreating. Aggressive with the tanks.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of here, I think, this point.
Okay.
Here. We've got the close combat.
In fact, that's
it, exactly. All right, so at this point here, we're going to hear from Tom now as to his mid-game thoughts. So take it away, Tom.
Okay.
All right, the mid-game, and the Russians are still in it, so I guess I can't complain about that. Having killed the flame tank over here, that's pretty much all I could ask for. I've got a certain sense of peace about the rest of the scenario, but really it's kind of gone the way I expected. I mean, down here in the first couple turns, I had really good success with really good luck. And then, you knock the Finns back and they self-rally and they're pretty much all back in the game. Whereas, my Russians are DM and they're going to stay that way till they're out of the game. With the exception, of course, being the commissars. So, maybe that's the balancing factor here. I don't know. I'm kind of annoyed with myself for having made such a stupid move with these tanks, last turn. I really didn't know what to do with them. I couldn't come up with any great moves, so I made a stupid move, which was, not the right thing to do. In those situations, you should just kind of do nothing extraordinarily good or bad and make sure you don't lose the tanks in the next turn, which I'm probably going to do because this guy's going to grab a Lati and flame him, and then this guy's probably going to go down to a Molotov cocktail. So anyway, that did not help. This tank is a pain in the butt. I'm really glad that this building is there to shield me from that, because I don't know what to do with it. You know, it can kill any tank that it shoots at, so I'm a little afraid to take it on. Anyway, so we're kind of trending toward an interesting finish, but honestly, there's a ton of Finns out there who only need to take this building here, and I just am not seeing it, but we'll see the way it goes.
All right, so Martin, what do you think in terms of who's winning this one right now?
Okay, that's a good question. So really, I guess the big building, the 2 Victory Point building, looks quite secure now.
Yep.
Obviously, you've got the 2 buildings on the south side have effectively fallen. In fact, they have fallen now. So you've got this, and in fact, the one in the you still got to get the one in the
middle.
west, and the one in the middle. So there's quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned, got to have your mind on these being counterattacked, because there's still another group to come in on turn 5.
Right.
Is he leaving sufficient force behind to defend them? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I think
that's kind of balanced.
Yeah.
I'd say kind of in the balance.
Okay. Let's go for it then. Let's see what's.
Yeah. Sorry. Low continuation. All right. Right, here we go.
Okay.
So you've got prep firing Finns. A heroic leader for the Russians. Russians boiling over a little bit out of the building on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, he's left that top left-hand building completely undefended.
Yeah. Still the axis turn, advancing fire. No major impacts. Bit of routing. Finns are getting into that building on the west now.
Yeah.
Allied turn now. So these are the reinforcements. They're coming in the same place as we knew.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's absolutely certain that building will hold. It's just a question now of what happens with the other 2 buildings.
I suppose.
Middle building's going to be the key one, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. This one here.
Yeah. Okay. So there's the tanks going, trying to disrupt this attack. Shocked straight away. One of them's shocked.
Yeah.
Got the 9-2, but there's just been a big break. 9-2 is broken as and other units in the hex. Okay. So that's a bit of a blow for the Russians.
Yeah, and I think that was was that the shot from the ATR kind of over here.
It looks like it, like a long distance kind of lucky. Well, not lucky, but sort of like canny little, cheeky little through the orchards sort of thing. Still sort of proper fighting going on over the big building though.
Yeah.
But the Russians sort of finish.
5.
Yeah. This is Russian turn 5. Are they going to get the rest of these buildings? Russians beginning to converge into that middle building, which they need to have another one of those big parties at. But it's still not
good for the Russians here, doesn't it?
I think it looks quite good for the Russians. It's still significant defence in the building in the south.
Yeah.
The one on the other side. Well, there's a few broken units, but there's still a 447 there.
Yeah.
I'd have been happy to have that much there, I think, at this stage of the game. But everything's broken now. I think that it's beginning to fall. But let's see if they can put enough pressure on this main building, this central building.
Yeah, they've got in the middle of it.
They're in the building, aren't they? And with what's the size of the unit? Is it an 838? No, it's a 248. Yeah. Berserk. It's always something like that ends up doing it.
Help.
But they got tanks firing, and they shocked the tank that they decided to name
that's
Dave.
big. Yeah, Dave in shock. But,
and there's significant chance of counterattacks. I know you got he's secured the building in the west now, so it's all about this central building, I think, really. But Russians in quite still in strength there. Everything prep firing.
This is on turn 6 now. Russian turn 6.
Russian turn 6. Yeah, there's only have one more turn after this.
Yeah.
Still got Russian tanks operating around that building, making it difficult for the.
I can't see how the Finns are going to win it.
Yeah, both those two buildings are now really, really strongly defended, aren't they? So Axis turn 7. This is the last chance.
Right.
The tank's gone to unconfirmed kill, which was unhelpful for the Finns, and that's it. I think obviously Tuomo's conceded at that point.
Yeah, nicely done for the Russians. Solid. Yeah, it's. I know that Tom was not excited about playing the Russians in terms of the throughout the game looked like a tough thing, but with that as a defense at the end of it, I think you're pretty happy, aren't you? And it's a bit of, this is the problem you get with the Finns, where you end up with like kind of troops, reasonable sized troops defending that you kind of would much rather be in the fight. I mean, there's we're looking here at 1.5 here, 2.5, and then another half. Yeah, so like there's some decent, like 4 squads or so just sitting back, holding off what might have been a counterattack, and then they get stuck behind the lines almost and can't attack because of the open ground that they're trying to push into. So nicely done, Tom. Let's hear Tom's end of game thoughts.
And that, kids, is how you whine and win a scenario. Thank you to Tuomo for playing such a challenging game. I think the real MVP for the Russian side is this hot sniper down here. Because it just seemed like whenever I needed something good, the sniper came in and did some good things, especially breaking this squad over here, which let me kind of put this area in play. I think if he had been allowed to threaten this side as early on as he was originally looking to, it would have been an entirely different game. So, we'll take it. It's a tough scenario for the personal morale checks because the Finns just keep coming, but what can I say? It's just one of those where you just have to suffer, and you look up at the end and maybe you've won. So anyway, thank you all for suffering along with us, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, Martin. That was nice one, and I think it's interesting that Tom mentioned about the Russian sniper there. We had something similar, didn't we, when we'll talk about that Russian sniper coming in. I think the threshold between like a good sniper number and a bad is that 4 to 5. When you get the 5 on the sniper, you're in for a good time really with the those sniper effects. And I think I saw there that he had 22 misses, 6 hot ones and 6 warm ones. So 34 sniper attempts in a game.
I mean, we didn't count, but I don't think I could have been far behind that in our game in terms of potential sniper activations.
Yeah, no,
because you just roll 5 all the time. It's just one of those.
I did. And the other interesting thing that we're going to talk about is that we kept a list of good and bad things. We'll talk about that in our game. But first of all, we're going to look at Andy Bagley and Mike Grogan. So Andy is the Russians here. Mike is the Finns. I guess not a lot to say in terms of the setup.
It is interesting though, because obviously I think in a way it'd be quite interesting to watch this because we don't know where the reinforcements are coming in because we don't have the kind of their kind of like account of things in the same way that we did with the Tuomos.
Exactly.
But in some ways it looks very similar, doesn't it? I think that's a little bit more of a forward defence on the right hand side by the Russians perhaps. Okay, right. Let's start going. Oh, and also of course they've set it up beautifully, haven't they? Using the what would you call it? That little sort of layout feature that you can do.
Yes, the battle templates.
It's beautiful.
I think very nice.
We should do that really, but we never do. Yeah, right. And we're just getting concealment growth here, and then we have the Finns, no prep fire, straight into it. Tanks coming on from a different side this time, actually.
Look at the Finns in a wave there. Wow.
Yes, yeah, it's almost like a Finnish human wave. Yeah. Russians start retreating.
Wow.
Don't blame them. There's been very little action in a sense.
Nothing happened. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning these armoured cars are radioed by SSR as well.
That's right. They have got radios. That's right. Yeah. So is it in turn? Are we in turn 2? Yeah. No, still playing the. Oh, there's advances as the Russians. Okay. Right. Turn 2. Finish. Turn 2. This time they're prep firing a little bit, and again moving forward. Straight into the fat building, so it looks like they're going to be capturing this building very, very soon. Massive strength building up on the south side.
Yeah,
I don't see the Russians standing in the way of that for long.
Yeah, Russians not defending really that back right building. I think that's the right thing to do. I think it's very hard for the Finnish to get down there. And I think if they take that 2-point building, they'll win. Regardless, so you may as well. You've got to stop them taking one of the building.
So we got Russians continuing to contract, which is perhaps exactly how to play. I mean, this is Andy Bagley doing what Andy Bagley does best, collapsing and strength.
He collapsing in strength. Yeah, you've got to finish that sentence. He's not just collapsing under. Oh, we've had a blazing.
Oh, we got the blazing tank there. Which tank is that?
That's one of the armoured cars.
The armoured cars, right? Okay, yeah. Right, the second building it looks like is being taken in overwhelming strength.
Yeah.
But in a way, doesn't challenge Andy because Andy's not committed so much to defending them. So, yeah. Finish advances. Making them look very sort of strong there. So this is now Russian turn 3. So we've got the reinforcements coming on. They're coming on the same place as Tuomo brought his on.
This looks like the smaller group. Oh no, so is it the two tank?
1, 2, 3. It looks. It's difficult to be. I think it's the smaller group.
Yeah.
But we'll see in a minute. Getting that 9-2 on does feel like a good idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's bringing them on. So he's got. Do you know what's a really strong defense beginning to form here?
Yeah, the Russians are definitely intact, aren't they?
They've
lost that first building, but they're in good order as it was.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Those 45. These tanks here. Kind of. The trouble is that those auctions do impede quite a lot.
They do, yeah. The Finns kind of joining together, actually, to almost attack from the west. Yeah. They've only really got to capture that building in the middle to have a chance of winning this.
Right, yep.
Because they got. I'm not sure if they've actually walked through the building on the west, but I assume it's child's play for them to go and collect it for the points. It's actually always risky not having anything in the victory condition building in the bottom right. I always feel nervous when I do that.
Yeah.
But there's no chance of a Finnish unit getting in there. In one turn.
Had the flamethrowers mouthed its.
And that just hurts, doesn't it?
It does.
Just hurts.
It does.
Because with that, anything's possible without flamethrowers spouting every time, every turn. Got Russian advancing fire, so this now Russian advances, and yet, like with the game of Tuomo, you got suddenly it's starting to look quite strong.
It is, isn't it? But the thing is, like you mentioned, you've got such little force in that bottom right, and you still don't know where those Russian reinforcements are coming on this turn. So if we stop it here for a second, so where are we? Yeah, Group B. Yes, the strong group about to come on.
Yes.
So where would you dread them to come on if you're the Finnish player now?
I think probably top left, board 49.
Yeah.
Because that looks the least well defended building. The one beneath it it looks like it has some sort of defense. Difficult to judge, isn't it, how strong that is?
Yeah. All right, we'll see then. Let's see. They're about to come
we will see. And it's still Axis turn at the moment. They are pushing forward though. Pushing forward manfully. I think that force that's very significant coming on, isn't it? Is it 6 squads they've got?
6 squads. Yeah.
Very significant force. Okay, yeah. Russian perimeter defences have more or less disappeared. We've got these guys coming on exactly where we said.
On the left-hand side,
yeah. Are they going to be able to retake that building? Certainly make a lot of progress unimpeded. Yeah.
It looks like they're actually going for the top one as well, the Russians.
I think it's so difficult when you're trying to put everything into capturing a building, and it's becoming difficult to calculate what you should leave behind to defend.
Yeah.
You know, it's anyway. Russians get funneling troops into that building, and you got the 9-2 potentially about to get into that building.
Medium's broken.
Yeah, we all know what that feels like.
Looks good for the Russians, though, doesn't it?
It does look good for the Russians, yeah.
Are they gonna...
Right, and I think this is where it's been called, isn't it?
Is that right?
Yeah.
And the Russians have won that, I assume?
Yes, that's right. So I think... Yeah. The Russians have got a lot of force in that building.
Yes.
At first, I was a little bit surprised because the Finnish are adjacent, aren't they? But there is, in 2209, there is a 9-2 and at least 2 squads and a load of concealed units. So approaching that's going to be very difficult, especially with this force coming on from behind. Yeah. So it's interesting, a Russian win, and at the beginning, this scenario looks like a difficult one for the Russians. And Tom said it was a kind of a lot of morale checks, personal morale checks.
Yes.
But 2 games, 2 Russian wins.
Yeah, okay. All right then, so let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so last one we've got is Doug Leslie against Marc Hanna. Doug is the Russians here, and Marc is the Finnish. Can we see a Finnish win? And it's crazy because we thought, the Russians look like they will struggle in this one. So here we go. This is the game.
Yep. Tanks coming on the top right as Tom and Tuomo's game, or it so appears.
Scroll up a little bit. Yeah. And when you look at this, the Russians look like they're defending a little bit too much in the centre here. Maybe one of the things is they've got to contract a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe this will give the chance for the Finnish.
Maybe.
Because they've got a lot of space in the top right there, haven't they, to be able to kind of...
nice fire lane with a medium.
Yes.
Finns obviously dancing around it. A lot of discussion going on, I think.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, let me turn that off. That's getting annoying. Okay. Right. So what can we see going on here? A lot of Finnish spread out as well. No stacks. Really.
Yeah. Gives really good opportunities for like advancing fire, doesn't it? And to get into little places where you wouldn't expect them to be able to see, perhaps.
And that's interesting. You can see where they're in contact with the Russians. The Finns kind of like spread out, and here where they're not so much in contact, they're really utilising the stacks. Down comes the flame-throwing tank.
Yeah. Okay, solid so far. Solid movement forward with the Finns.
Yeah. What was nice about the scenario is it feels like there's lots of separate battles going on, doesn't it? So it's you've kind of got places where it's going well, and then places where it's going a little bit tougher. That poor Russian squad on the right hand side didn't stand a lot of chance there.
I think it's quite interesting a dilemma with the building in the south, which is perhaps the hardest to hold on to. Whether, like Andy Bagley didn't defend it at all, and here Doug seems to have defended it in some strength. I mean, if you force a significant amount of Finnish resources to go and take a building they should be able to take quite easily, it's just an interesting sort of dilemma, isn't it? Whether you look, they're in the that building there. I think it must be almost impossible to hold on to those two buildings on the left-hand side.
But the Finns this is the first real chance we've seen, like the first game we've seen the Finns really having a good go at that bottom right building. The
definitely.
Got in there.
Helping them get in, crack their way into the building.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Lots of broken units there, lots of broken Finnish units.
Looks good for the finish here.
I mean, if they take that 2 victory point building this early in the game, I think that would be very difficult for the Russians to win.
Right. There's just not a lot of infantry there to hold it. That's
exactly right. Yeah. But their infantry's coming on. Here it is. It's coming on in just the right place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tank's coming on.
And straight away got a vehicle blaze.
Yeah. Nicely done.
Yeah. I can't see the Russian infantry, or is it just not entered yet?
Yeah, well, the 9-2's there. Is that the...
Okay. Oh, yeah. I think I just missed them coming on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, they're a lot less likely to lose that building now.
Yeah. No, they've all just sprung in, so I don't quite know what happened there. Yeah, they've just all turned up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all turned up for me as well. So there's a lot of... I'm quite sure.
Okay, we've got a Finnish again pushing forward. It's all going to be that central building is so key, isn't it? It's been key in every scenario, and in this one, probably the Finnish are going to take all the other buildings except the 2 victory condition one and the central one.
Yes.
And it'll be about whether or not they can take that and whether the Russians can perhaps get one back in the counter-attack.
Right.
But we haven't had a successful counter-attack as such, have we? It's all been
that's right.
funneling troops in. Oh, and I suppose that's not true. Andy Bagley did do a counter-attack.
Yeah, he kind of,
But lots of smoke now on the board.
Yeah.
From the blazes. Russian reinforcements are about to come on. Where do you think?
You've got to say left-hand side, haven't you? It looks like coming on like near.
If you could decide now, you'd definitely go left-hand side.
Yes,
What you would do, but of course you've got to decide at the beginning.
That's right. That's right.
I think it's still looking reasonably good for the Russians at the moment. Okay, fighting is going on for that building on the top now.
Yeah. Oh, bottom.
They come on the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the
I don't see the infantry now.
Yeah, no, I don't see them either. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there.
I think they haven't come on yet. Well, they should be at the bottom, shouldn't they? Should be lined up waiting to come on. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
turning
up.
Hearing.
Yeah, there's something weird.
That's strange. Yeah. Are they perhaps using the thing going right? They're going 1, 2, 3, and using the red dot, and he's going not firing, so they just appear. I think something like that might be happening. Yeah, no, I think the infantry of the Russian counter.
Do you know what I think it sometimes is? I think if you set them up in between a log file, and then you
see.
it's one of those things where then the log file doesn't have the units to move. I think something like that. Anyway, the game is called at this point. The Russians have won it. The Finnish just aren't going to get the last the middle building and the one on the right hand side. And they call it at this point. Which it's tough, isn't it? From what looks like, the Finns have got such little left. That, and again, we can't see I don't think we can see the six squads. So there's 6 more Russian squads floating around
out there somewhere.
Yeah, they're still up here in the according to the thing, but they're on the board. And I assume they've pushed in quite hard. Towards this last building. All right. Well, that's that. So thanks.
That's 3, isn't it? 3 Russian wins.
Surely it can't be 4, Martin.
You wouldn't have put your money on that, would you?
Surely it can't be 4. Right. Okay. Let's flick over and see our game. Okay, Martin. So here we go. This is our game. I'm the Finnish. You are the Russians. I'm going to come on the bottom left with my tanks. This is the plan. Let's see how it goes. Let's see.
And interesting, because we normally trust each other, we don't normally use it, but we use the delayed information feature on Vassal, which is actually really clever, isn't it?
Yes.
You want to write down where your hips are or where your reinforcements are coming in, things like that, and you can reveal it, and your opponent knows that you.
That's right.
Tells you the date and time when you recorded that information.
Exactly.
Difficult to cheat with it though.
Very difficult to cheat. Yeah, that's why you don't often use it.
Fins are off.
Things are off. So I sent the flamethrower in to the first job that I didn't want to do with the infantry, which is try and clear this building out. And we get a little bit of a result. And looking at this already, I'm already wondering, why did I send my guys north rather than east, as it were, on this, kind of, I sent them out to try and clear these 2. I could have just left these 2 guys alone. And I kind of thought what I'll do is, I think I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to go up to this big building, clear it out, and then move right. And that was the plan. So it's up and then to the right. And then ignore the bottom right-hand building. I didn't want to try and take that on at all. So my guys at the top are fairly
uninhibited by my
unimpeded.
Unimpeded. There we go.
So a little bit of firing, and made good progress in the first turn, I think.
Extraordinarily intimidating having these big blobs of Finnish troops moving towards you.
That's right.
I don't think I expected you to attack me in quite such strength on that extreme left-hand side, and so I'm actually in a bit of a pickle because it's actually difficult for me to skulk away even though I was concealed.
That's right.
And
so it's interesting because we started talking about the good things and bad things, and so following on from the last conversation that we had, where we said about how sometimes ASL has like a lot of bad feelings in it, that things go wrong more than they go well. So we kind of made a list of things that happen good and bad for each other, and we did it separately to try and figure out, okay, well, do I feel like things are bad and good? And we have to say that I think you had more bad stuff going on. You managed to you're going to manage to mouth your tank, mouth the
machine gun and the main armament the first time they fire. Things like that,
And then you 6 out the repair roll.
We sort of didn't include things like advancing fire shots that don't have an effect. Even though it was quite a good shot.
That's right.
It was. It's really reasonable for you to not have an effect. So that's not a side that's the firing mouthing weapons and stuff.
That's right. Let me just load the next one. And what was interesting is that a lot of the time it felt quite nice that actually what happened was, as long as it gets recognised as a bad thing, I think that's quite a nice thing. It just feels like,
that's absolutely true, Because you aren't in control of it, are you? You've made a rational decision to fire it.
The recognition was quite nice. And we did some good stuff as well. And we had some. So, for example, one of the things I do, and it's this one of these rolls here. You know, I get a 3 on the flamethrower. You know, it clears out one of your stacks, but actually it creates a flame, and we're going to see that flame
becomes quite significant, doesn't it? Yeah,
absolutely does. Yeah. And the problem here is we now know that this blaze, apart from that, it's very difficult for me to get into this building on the left hand side there.
It aids the defense, definitely.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I've got slightly pictures of that film Zulu with the building on fire as they retreat out of it. Have you?
Exactly.
I expect quite a lot of people have seen that film.
Exactly. Then one of the bad things that happens is I do mouth my flamethrowing tank on its like third shot or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But you were very good about this. So I rolled an 11 on this shot, and I remember trying to work out whether I was going to go adjacent to it and risk the street fighting. And I know you got a bit unlucky with the patsies that you were going to take. And so then I decided, I think I baited you with one of the tanks. You failed the patsy. You pinned. Moved in with the flamethrowing tank. I think you failed the next patsy, and then I took the shot adjacent. Yeah. So it's the 24 flat. Rolled the 11. Kind of rolled my eyes. Okay, well that's the last of the flamethrowing tank. And then you reminded me it does still have an effect, and it's a 1 check, and it's impressive that you've got to remember. I mean, so thank you for reminding me, but you got to remember that actually 1 check as a minimum, pretty much of what's going to happen, is always going to it's going to have some kind of effect, isn't it? On those defenders.
Yeah. You see these AI snipers. You see those little yellow things popping up all over the place.
That's right. Yeah. So your sniper now comes into life, wounds my 10-0 leader, and this is going to be significant. So this sniper isn't going to leave this building basically, and we're going to see it all the way through the game. And because I rolled a kind of Yahtzee on the random selection. Yeah. So then you broke the squad as well, which we had was one of the good things for you. On a 2 result, you managed to break a squad and wound a leader.
And you are like very conscious, I think, of the danger of my reinforcements coming in on the left-hand side and retaking a building.
Yeah. And I've got this awkward little squad up here that is broken up here, and I'm aware that it might come back, and my 838 really has got better things to do. So I figure, okay, well, what's the worst that's going to happen here? You're not gonna rally him. So we'll keep an eye out on those 2 things that are going on. Meanwhile, pushing hard on the right. The flames are spreading in the big building. These 3 guys down here, the 3, 4, 4, 7. I don't know what I'm doing with these guys, and the feeling is if they get lucky, they might be able to bother you from the back. Just come around the back. That was the kind of the plan. It's a bit of a distraction, really, to the main event. The 838 is sitting there guarding this broken guy. I mean, it's a bit frustrating just to make sure.
It's a very powerful unit to be guarding a brokey, isn't he? Yeah,
exactly. So this is where we are on turn 3. So your first set of reinforcements are going to come on.
About to come on. Yeah.
And you do what I think we talked about this, and what we expected was that you were going to come on possibly on the bottom right here to reinforce that first building.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I do. Yeah,
you come on the bottom right. So, and I was kind of pleased in a way, because I kind of feel that they don't have a lot of effect down there right now, and I'm not really focused on that bottom right building. So that was kind of the best result for me. So the tanks are on. We're pushing hard.
I now think it's very difficult for you to take that big building, and I think the Russians have got to make sure that building doesn't fall.
Yeah, exactly. We get into this flaming building, so we're happy that we've captured it. So if it does go up in flames now, it's not my fault. I've still got it.
Yeah, so we think the rules is I can't recapture it once the whole thing is on ablaze.
That's right.
Think.
Yeah.
But it doesn't quite happen in the game. But yeah.
Sniper hits me again.
Sniper.
Yeah. So I've sent another squad back.
Strong forces back there to kind of make sure you're okay, and they just keep breaking.
Meanwhile, you've rallied this 447 in the top left.
Yes,
And now I've got to kind of figure out, okay, am I going to bring 2 guys back, 1 guy back? So pushing into the centre.
But you're now coming out of the building on the left-hand side in some sort of the burning building with some strength now.
That's right. That's right.
I've got a squad in the top building, but all he can do is slow you up.
That's right.
I am trying to do an Andy Bagley and funnel units now into the central building.
Yep. Yeah. You've hit me again with a sniper.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I'm down to one squad now there.
Yeah.
And I'm painfully aware that 6 squads and 2 tanks are going to take that building against one guy.
I've got quite a lot of forces in the central building, but you are absolutely all around it with very, very strong forces.
Right. Yeah, and so on you come. Here comes turn 5.
And your worst.
We said, I did say, I didn't want you to be bringing them on this side. And here they come. And so, my defence here is a broken half squad and an 838.
Yeah, and you're slightly compromised by the fact that there's a 447 being annoying at the top, isn't it? Yeah.
And I haven't taken these 2 buildings either yet. So
no.
It's very tough now. Now I think you thought you had lost this at the midpoint.
I was finding it difficult to work out whether or not I would retake the building in the bottom left,
right,
or not. Yeah. I wasn't 100% sure. I mean, you have got 2 838s in there, just that one of them was broken.
I think it's a half squad. I think it's
a half squad, is it? Okay, yeah.
Another whack of the sniper. Oh, it was the advancing fire. Actually, I think the sniper's got it. Yeah. And the problem is with the sniper sitting there is that every shot I take, I'm basically risking giving you the building.
Yes, absolutely. A single sniper could lose you the game.
Yeah. But meanwhile, I haven't even taken the middle building yet, so I've got to
true.
Get on. Your 447 has made it into the building, the worst possible point for me.
Yeah. And with a 9-2, although he's broken now.
Right. Yeah. So I do manage to get lucky, I think, with this attack here, where I managed to get in without losing too much.
Yeah. You get a couple of breaks, don't you? But you're definitely adjacent with considerable good order finish units. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're going to tie up my heavy machine gun with in close combat in a moment and prevent me from using that weapon. Yeah.
The other thing about the scenario is hand-to-hand can be declared as well, and that makes some challenging decisions.
Very challenging decisions.
As to whether you risk it to clear out the building or not. And we definitely had a couple of moments where I think I needed an 11 to kill you or 11 to half squad you or something, and 10 to destroy you, and had to roll an 11, and then that sort of stuff went on.
So we've got a melee, but other than that, you are virtually in control of the central building. And this may be the first of the 4 scenarios where we've seen that building captured, and it hasn't been captured yet, but it's very close to being captured.
Right. Exactly. So exactly that. So then basically I've got to clear you out, and in come the tanks.
All the sleazy, freezy stuff.
Yeah, as expected. And for those that were watching there's on the forums, I'd had a post about the vehicle bypass, so that's coming up in a second for this hex here, and we used the one of the overlays to test this. But there's a bit of that goes on. So basically here now, I'm holding on with 1 838 against a whole heap of units here and the tanks. So it doesn't look good for the Finns. So this is where we look at trying to bypass. And start using tools. So there's a nice thread on Game Squad about the tools and everything for that. But we basically decide that I can't bypass the bottom hex, and you kindly allow me to go back, and not only allow me to go back and change, but to also not platoon movement as well. You kind of work out for me that
you can do it with if you don't move in platoon movement. Yeah,
exactly. So,
but the thing is, if you don't get there, the game's virtually over, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So I managed to break off with one, do the task check, the second, the flamethrower.
You also realise you need to get infantry in as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Because actually, you haven't broken yet.
That's right. But I'm trying to bring them back. I think there's a pin.
But if they do break, yeah.
That's right. There's a pin here.
Yeah.
So I'm rushing back.
Mm.
And at
Looks
this
like you got
point,
some infantry getting. Yeah.
Yeah, and at this point, what basically happens, although we've got the melee that will almost certainly go my way, given I can reinforce everything, you break the squad here. So this basically means I have to route out, and as soon as I route out, you've gained the building.
And you getting back into it won't change the outcome of the game.
That's right. Because this is my last turn, so you know, basically I've got one advance, which means I've got a 648 CX'd in the victory building, up against 4 or 5 squads, 2 tanks. I've got a
But he won't advance until after the route phase, will he?
Exactly. So basically, at that point, you control the building. I can't win the building back again.
Yeah.
And so it's another Russian win. Now, crazy that we've had 4 Russian wins.
It is
because that does not feel like a favoured Russian scenario. Right? It's so, you know, I got no issues at all with it being you know, looking like it's unbalanced. It's not an unbalanced scenario at all.
No, I don't think that. Yeah.
And it was good fun, wasn't it? It was a really good scenario.
Really, really good scenario. Just offering so much. It's got very, very few plays in terms of, you know, looking at the archive. Not enough to make any kind of judgments about it.
Right.
But I think it felt balanced, actually.
Yeah. And what I remember thinking about this scenario was, it's incredible on an A4 piece of paper that you just pluck out of your binder. There is so much entertainment value, and this is why we play ASL. I mean, you know, we talked about burning out, we talked about, you know, kind of getting grouchy with ASL, but this is one of the highlights of why we play, in terms that you just pluck a piece of paper out of a folder, or, you know, you look at your binder, whatever it is, and suddenly there's this scenario, this gameplay that emerges out of it that is brought to life, and it's incredible in so much as the stories it tells and the tactical challenges, all contained on one A4 piece of paper, you know, and we have 6 binders of those to play, you know.
Absolutely, it's brilliant.
So brilliantly suggested, Tom Repetti. Thank you very much. Thank you again to Rob for all his work he did on the video. Thanks to Tuomo and to Mike and to Doug, to Marc, and who else played it? Andy Bagley. So really appreciate you sending in your log files. We love doing this kind of thing where we can see how do we compare against other people's play. We'll do it again for sure. So if you don't get a chance, well, if you haven't heard and you still want to be part of the tournament, let me know. But we've got our 16 players. If you've let me know already and I've stupidly forgotten again, I apologise. And please, you've got like a week or so to let me know for final. We will be doing the draw next round. Otherwise, for those 16 players, we will be playing a Chaz Smith scenario. Martin, anything from you?
I think we're good. I think we're good. Obviously, if you've got any other suggestions for anything like this, then let us know. But I think
absolutely,
I think we're good.
Love it. Thank you again to all the patrons for your support. We do appreciate it. Carry on using all the features on the archive with the super graphics that you guys get. We appreciate your support and help. Other than that, Martin, until Hill 621 tomorrow, we'll see you people soon.
Take care all.
Cheers, guys. Okay, all the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.